Hey everyone, and good evening. This is Ron Chapman, the Concierge Group Executive Home Realty here in Bel Air, Harford County, Maryland. I am here on Wednesday evening, the 18th of February, 2026, and we like to put out some content usually on Wednesdays and Sundays, so please keep that in mind. Our main content that usually goes beyond about a minute and a half will go up on YouTube, and then it gets clipped to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and things of that nature. So please like and subscribe. Find me on social media. You can follow me there as well. All that information will be right there in the show notes. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight was talk about some of the content I put together for the past week, and it is the National Association of Realtors Profile 2025 for home buyers and home sellers. Well, Ron, we're in 2026. We're well into 2026 here in February. Why is this important to us? Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to get a pulse, a gauge of what buyers and sellers were doing in 2025, this is a very comprehensive report that is done at the end of the year. It's done by actual data that's collected as well as surveys that are done for buyers and sellers and the execution of contracts for all of 2025. So without further ado, and I've got my little notes here, so you're going to see me looking down on these, but this is a 138-page report. It is free for members of NAR. I am a member of NAR. It is paid if you are not. So what I've done is I've gone through this report, and there are about 7 or 8 main takeaways that I want you to keep in mind for this 2026 season. Whether you're planning on buying now or you're planning on buying in the future, maybe you're not in the market, even if you're renting, it is good information for you to have to know what the mindset was of buyers and sellers last year. And then some of the trending that we'll talk about as well that has continued throughout the years. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to pull this up, and hopefully you can see that. That's right there below me. We're going to go ahead and get started. So once again, this is the 2025 NAR profile of home buyers and home sellers. I'm Ron Chapman, Concierge Group Executive Home Realty. Let's get started with this. First and foremost, the big picture for 2025. First-time home buyers dropped to 21%. This is the lowest since 1981. The age gap, the median buyer age is now 59. That is an all-time high, according to the National Association of Realtors in this 2025 data that we have so far. Cash is king. 26% of all transactions were all cash. I'm going to repeat that one more time. 26% of all transactions were all cash. Now, we've kind of seen this go from between 21, 23, 26%, probably for the last 4 to 5 years, but cash is king. We're still seeing all cash offers within the market, at least a good quarter of the contracts that have been done in the past year. 91% of sellers use an agent, all-time high. That is good news, all right? It's always great when we have first-time home buyers or sellers that are utilizing agents who can bring value, press their value, and also get them the most bang for their buck here in the market. So who was buying in 2025? First-time home buyers, the median age was 40. Compare that to 1980 when it was 20. Now, that's a long time. I get it. That's a trend. But it is an important thing to note that the median age for first-time home buyer was 40 years old as of 2025. Repeat buyers, the median age was 62. Household makeup. Let's look at this one. 61% of buyers last year were married couples. 21% were single females. That is a massive force that is going through the market. That is a data metric that it's a great one, and it's one of those that we should really take into account. Is that 21%? That was significant of single females were buyers in the market in 2025. Okay, only 24% of buyers, that's a record low, have kids under the age of 18 at home. So one of the things that notice, fewer kids in the mix means neighborhood priorities are shifting from near a playground to near grandkids or the office. So that's an interesting note to take in there. There's some things at play there. We'll talk about that when we get to the multi-generational facet there, but very interesting to note on this last report. Multi-generational, 14% of all buyers bought a multi-generational home. Out of those 14%, okay, 41% are caretaking for aging parents was the main reason. 29% was for cost savings, and 27% were children over the age of 18 returning home. Okay, so when we're talking about multi-generational households, it's not just necessarily about, grandma and grandpa wanting to have their sons and daughters in the home and then their grandkids, but it's also adult kids over the age of 18 returning home, whether it be from college or what have you. But that is what we're seeing as far as a multi-generational trend within the housing market. 76% of buyers have no children under the age of 18 in the home. So One of the aspects I want to talk about here when we're looking at multi-generational is, let's say if you're a seller, okay, one of the things that you need to look at here is with this multi-generational trend that we're seeing, some are looking for homes with an ADU, okay? Some are looking for an accessory dwelling unit or a dual primary suite. 1 in 7 were looking for that in 2025. So if you got some space that could be added on as a room, or if there's an in-law suite already there in the home, which got like a little kitchenette and a bathroom and a shower, things like that, there was a need for that in the market. 1 out of 7 is not zero. So it is very, very important when we're talking about multi-generational, some of the footprints that are being looked for in homes from 2025. So what's selling? The typical home in 2025 that sold was 1,900 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, built in 1994. The distance, the median move was 20 miles. So we're getting closer. We're going to talk about that because that goes into some of the desires and wants, more of a work-life balance that we started to see in 2025. 82% say heating and cooling costs are the number one environmental factor when they were purchasing the home. Buyers plan to stay for 15 years. Once again, that's a survey that buyers had planned to stay for 15 years. So we aren't seeing the 50-mile work from home anywhere leaps anymore that we saw in 2022. People are moving closer to home again, and 20 miles on average in range, which is fairly good. Digital search versus human touch. Where it starts, 46% look online first before anything else. They are looking online for their homes and their needs. If they're selling, they're looking online to see what around them is sold, what's going on in the neighborhood. 52% found their home on the web. 88% of buyers use an agent to close. 56% say finding the right home was the hardest part of the hurdle. 38% of first-timers need an agent just to explain the complex process. And that's whether you're a first-time buyer or if it's the first time you're actually selling a home. An agent and a professional was needed in that place. So once again, great stat there for consumers. One thing is that we look at, so the internet is great for browsing. It's a minefield of data there. Nearly 9 out of 10, that's what we're looking at stat, 9 out of 10 use a professional to either buy or sell their home in 2025. The financing wall, down payments, first timers, 10% was the median down payment for first timers. That is the highest since 1989, according to the National Association of Realtors. The highest. Repeat buyers, 23%. It's the highest since 2003. The debt obstacle. What is preventing people from getting in the market? What is preventing them from saving for that down payment? Once again, 10% being the median, one of the highest that we've seen. For those struggling to save, rent, 46% came in first, only followed by credit cards at 37%, which are the biggest barriers for saving and getting into that housing market. The silver lining in all this is that 79% still see home ownership as a good financial investment. Once again, that's been solid, steady state. 79% still see home ownership as a good financial investment. So it's getting harder to save, but the sentiment hasn't changed. Americans still believe in home ownership as a wealth builder. Older and holding on longer. So the median seller age, we're going to look at the sellers now. 64 years old was the median seller age. Tenure in the home, how long? 11 years. That is another all-time high. So how long were they in the home before they decided to sell? That's 11 years. And that's another all-time high because previously, I think we were at 10 or 9 years previous to this. So once again, we're ticking upwards on that one for the median seller age and the tenure, the amount of years that they're in the home before they sell. Why sell? 26% was to be closer to friends and family. And when you look at that median seller age, that makes sense. Right? Getting close to your younger adult kids and then potential grandkids, that's always very important. Here's the key kicker right here. 9%, let's say it again, 99% in 2025, according to the National Association of Realtors, 99% got their asking price as sellers. I'm going to leave that right there. For sale by owner. Okay, so what are we looking at for sale by owner? First and foremost, it was the lowest for sale by owner rate of all time. It was an all-time low of 5%. When you looked at homes that were assisted, the median sale price from an agent-assisted sale was $425,000. Compared to that, to the same home, same specifics, same layout, comparably, with an FSBO for sale by owner, they only got $360,000. That is a lot of money left on the table for going that route. So it's a complexity there that we're seeing of trying to go it alone and go solo. Once again, an all-time low of 5%. When I interviewed some of the for sale by owner people who participated in that, one of the big things they had, 17%, was getting the price right, is what they struggled with. And then followed that by 12% of preparing the home properly for the market. So once again, having a professional at your side to get you through and help you through that course, whether you're buying or selling, is paramount in this market. Last but not least, the 2025 outlook, once again, capped off by resilience and value. That's the key there. Demographics, there was a shift toward older, equity-rich participants. Motivation, family connection, moving and driving, migration over employment. Family connection, driving migration over employment. So it's being closer to family versus, oh, I'm going to, live an hour away and commute in. No, there was a work-life balance perspective here in 2025 that you're seeing, where people value being closer to family over necessarily the location for employment. 79% confidence. 79% believe real estate is a good financial investment. And we looked at that earlier when we looked at the stat for it being a wealth builder. Key, and I'll kind of end it here. Technology has not replaced the agent. Okay. It has made the human advisor more critical than ever. Having all that data, having all of those sources of information is wonderful. It helps both the buyer, the seller, and the agent. Overall, for the consumer, it's a great thing. But having a professional in your corner is very important. We've seen it. The stats don't lie. The numbers don't lie when it comes to getting the best bang for your buck. So this is a great overall report. Like I said, it's 138 pages. It's one of the things that every year I look forward to really see what happened in the previous year. And you can kind of use this as a gauge as you go through 2026 to see, do some of these trends still happen? Are you still starting to see your older adults with the younger adult kids who are helping with down payments and helping them to get into that home, therefore being a multi-generational? So I still think we're going to see that continue. So once again, great points, a lot of great information here. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about because I always find this very interesting, very important when working with clients and things like that. So that's all I've got for tonight. I'm Ron Chapman, the Concierge Group Executive Home Realty right here out of Bel Air. Please do me a favor, like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on social media. I put out content usually on Wednesday nights and Sundays, and in between, you'll start seeing little things as well there too. And happy to have you here tonight. Have a good one.